Welcome, Dan Bern, to the show. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm great.
Hey, did you play last night in Saratoga?
Let's see, today's Monday. I played Saturday night in Saratoga, a couple nights ago.
Oh, okay. Are you home now?
I am, yeah.
Oh, nice. Good for you. Growing up in Mount Vernon, Iowa, is there still an Iowa influence that carries with you?
There's certainly a lot that I carry with me from growing up. Mm-hmm. Whether it's from, the house I grew up in, the parents I had, the countryside when I stepped out, the friends that I had. Sure, I mean, that's some of the early important stuff.
When did you decide to become an artist?
Well, the cool answer is I didn't really decide. It sort of chose me. Mm-hmm. The first time I heard the kind of music that I thought I could make, as opposed to the kind of music that was around me when I was real young growing up, which was classical music, which I liked, but I never thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I need to do. It was later on when I heard folk singers and blues singers and country singers and rock and roll singers, and I thought those things were things that appealed to me to the degree that I thought I would want to do that. I guess really the answer is it was in stages. If you want to get it down to the kind of thing of just like playing and singing or making up a song, I think I wanted to do that when I was pretty young, and I still have the sort of drive and impetus to be doing that.
You had mentioned classical. Were your folks classical musicians, or?
Yeah. Very old school, both Europeans. My dad was born in Lithuania and escaped just in time with his life to what was then Palestine. But he was a pianist, a classical pianist and composer, and so that was the soundtrack of my growing up. Chopin and Liszt and Mozart and all that.
That still is pretty good company to be in, I think, and I think it still gives you good influence, even if it was maybe not, I don't know, so hip to yourself. You're like, oh, I'm always listening to classical music, man.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a great, it's melody and rhythm and I'm grateful for having that around all the time.
Now, you also, you do some painting, and so I wanted to ask you if you've ever had any songs inspired by something that you've painted.
Oh, all the time. My favorite way to work is to have a nice big space, and I've got guitars plugged into amps, and I got paintings on easels, and I can go back and forth, and it's my favorite way to write, and it's my favorite way to paint. At this point it'd be hard to say, well, this song or this line or was inspired by painting, or this painting was inspired by song, but they kind of work best interchangeably.
With the paintings, did you start doing painting like when you were doing music, or did that come later, or did it come before?
It came later. It came about 20 years ago now, which is a while too, I guess. But when I started painting, it was a great relief from, the words aspect of my music. and I think it still provides a nice release from that side of things. It's interesting to me because a lot of my early songs were heavily into the pop culture side of things, and not just pop culture, but people, recognizable people, historical figures, writers, artists, scientists, political figures, and that's kind of what I've been painting. I've got hundreds now of portraits of the same kind of bag of people, really. So I'm sort of, in painting, I'm sort of trotting a similar path that I did with the songs for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. They say that if you draw faces, you're searching for an identity. So that's probably what I've been doing all along with various forms.
So with the painting, do you have a favorite painter?
Oh, Van Gogh and Picasso.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Find better ones, and I'll like somebody else.
So this could be a tricky question, but I think you know the answer. How many albums have you done, and do you have a favorite album?
Well, it is tricky. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly. I think around 25. It gets complicated. What with some EPs and live releases, and some. I think there were 3 that were just released on iTunes. Although I'd like to put them out other ways, and there were a couple that I did that were for this or that project, and I've done a couple kids albums, and I made a kids album for a cartoon that Amazon released. Anyway, it's a couple dozen, maybe 30. What was this question?
Just if you had a favorite, too.
Oh, my favorite one? I don't know. I mean, probably I started my own radio station last year called Radio Free Bernstein, and probably in part because I didn't have a favorite. I like the sprawl, actually. I like the sprawl of it. So I was able to put some of my stuff with some of the other things, songs, speeches, the things that I love, and just put it all together. It's easier for me to imagine playing for 10 hours than playing for 20 minutes. 20 minutes is hard because you got to boil it down. It's a good exercise to do. It's good to, but there's something appealing about. I mean, especially I suppose after you've been doing something for a while and you have a bunch of stuff and it covers a lot of different sort of emotional bases.
Right.
It's nice. It's nice to be able to stretch it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You had mentioned about the kids show, and I just saw something about that. The Stinky and Dirty show, right? What is that about?
It's about trucks. It's a short answer. Stinky's a garbage truck, and Dirty's a backhoe loader, and they live in a town called Go City, and it's full of cars and trucks with different jobs and personalities, and I get to, in addition to having the theme song, which plays at the front of every show, I get to write a song for every episode, and we're now shortly wrapping up the second season, so it's a lot of songs. It's about, I think it's now over 50 songs I've written for the Stinky and Dirty show.
Wow.
Hopefully it'll keep going. They've got some incredible voice actors, too. Aside from the kids that play Stinky and Dirty, they've got Joan Cusack, Whoopi Goldberg, quite a stable.
Wow. And where is this seen? I mean, where can people see it?
It's Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
So you get Amazon Prime, and
I have Amazon Prime.
You can watch a Stinking Dirty Show. Right now, the first season's up, and at some point they'll be getting the second season.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would like it a lot.
I'm sure.
I think it's right kind of in your wheelhouse.
Okay. Well, then I will definitely check it out, man. I hear a lot of religion sometimes in your music, pro and con. Is it something important in your life?
Well, I mean, when you say pro and con, I think, I guess I look at it as not pro or con in terms of my approach to it. Mm-hmm. It's like an examination of it. Mm-hmm. And it's a conversation. Sometimes I'm in conversation with God, you know, uh-huh. which has a long tradition in my religion of people arguing with God, and you know, Fiddler on the Roof is full of that.
Yeah.
So it's always, I don't know. It seemed like, at least from time to time, like a thing to be doing, to be grappling with.
When did Bob Dylan write to you, and what was it about?
Apparently he was in a hotel in Japan.
Uh-huh.
Probably had nothing to do, and he... well, the story was, I was writing a column for a publication in L.A. called Song Talk, mm-hmm. 25 years ago. And but the whole thing was about songs and songwriting, and my friend Paul Zolo was editing it, and he had an actual interview with Bob Dylan in this particular issue. And in the same issue, I wrote a specious interview, which was pretty much all the journalism I was willing to do, mm-hmm. fake interviews, I wrote a fake interview with his mom. Talk about fake news. I was in on the ground floor there. So, you know, it was just for laughs. And I think she said that she had written all of his songs, actually. And the only song he had actually written was Man Gave Names to All the Animals. So that was the thing. I think Milli Vanilli had just happened, so I thought it was a funny thing. Imagine that his mom had written his songs.
Right.
Anyway, so I wrote it. They printed it. Forgot all about it. And apparently, a few years later, he came across the publication and saw this, and became incensed that I had, in the name of comedy, besmirched the good name of his mother. So he wrote a scathing diatribe on some Japanese hotel room stationery, mm-hmm. Calling me, among other things, a scurrilous little wretch with a hard-on for comedy. And he had some choice words for Paul Zolo, too. Oh. And then this only surfaced a couple of years ago when, for, again, whatever reason, I don't know, this letter came into the possession of Sotheby's, the auction house. Mm-hmm. And apparently it was up for sale. I don't know. I never actually heard if somebody bought it. I think it was going for $12,000 or something. Mm-hmm. I wasn't gonna buy it.
Right.
Anyway, that's pretty much the thing. It was initially I was horrified, and then I guess now I think it's sort of amusing, but mm-hmm. Yeah, that's our big intersection. That's our big crossing of paths, I guess. Uh-huh. So far.
Yeah.
So far. I heard him a couple of weeks ago, and for the first time I thought, hey, you know, I think I'd like to sing with him. I'd never really known what I would ever say to him before that. But then it occurred to me, I think I could sing with him. So if I ever do meet him, I won't be so tongue-tied, you know. Just say, hey, man, sing some songs.
Right, right. Speaking of artists and such, who has been a big influence for you?
Who?
Yeah. Or how many?
I mean, we don't have time. So many fields. I mean, you know, McEnroe. Just reading his books, hearing him as a commentator, having watched him as a player. You know, he's a very, very interesting guy, and he's smart and balancing a lot of different things.
Have you met him?
I've not met him, but I'd like to.
Yeah, yeah. And Vin Scully, too, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was the voice of my dinner hour for many years in L.A. It was like listening to nice, good jazz, you know, for an hour. Yeah.
So speaking of all that, then, it was, I guess baseball is important to you.
It is. It's yeah, but you know, everything about it. It's great to play it. It's great to watch it. It's great to immerse yourself in the lore. It's great lore. It was probably one of the first things that I really found that was purely American, that I could, you know, completely relate to and sort of find a piece of myself in when I was, you know, growing up in virtually an old European household in the middle of Iowa.
Uh-huh. Did you play baseball when you were young?
I mean, everybody plays. Everybody plays. You know, I didn't. Everybody plays. I still play. I was at a recent high school reunion, and I was like, "Hey, man, let's play softball. Let's play softball tomorrow." And they all looked at me like, "What's your problem?"
I'm going to talk about the New American Language. The first time I heard you, actually, was on an alternative station here for God Said No. And when I heard that song, I just went, wow, this is different. It really caught my ear. And then hoping the DJ was going to say, hey, that's Dan Bern, you know, because so many times they don't tell you who it is. So I was listening intently after the fact, and then finally he said, this is Dan Bern. I was like, wow, okay. So I went out and bought the album, like, next day, I think.
Back when we still bought albums.
Exactly. What inspired that song? I mean, I know I hear all the different things, the different stories, and then God's decision. But how did that all come up for you?
I think I was toying with those themes at the time, and I was trying to get the idea right of going back in time and trying to make things right. Maybe it's something I wanted to do. Maybe I felt like I had gone wrong somewhere. I don't know. I do remember I was in Kansas. I was getting ready to start making some recordings, which eventually became that record, New American Language. And I was particularly, I think I was having a hard time, and I couldn't sleep. Everybody else was sleeping, and I was just kind of, you know, as Hank Williams said, you know, I walk the floor the way I do. It was one of those nights, and it all just kind of came together, and I was able to find some simple, I guess, a simple 3-part telling of this thing, and the key was that God wasn't going to allow this retreading, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've been trying to find the right way to tell this tale for a long time at that point, and it sort of crystallized that one night.
Can you reminisce about making that album?
Oh, it was just so fun.
Was it made in Los Angeles, or?
It was made in, half of it was made in Lawrence, Kansas, and half of it was made in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And it took a long time. It was probably a year in the making. At various times we had, there were 2 different drummers over the process. Sometimes we had Chuck Plotkin come in, great producer. He came in a couple times from LA, but mostly it was the core of us. What was the IJBC, the International Jewish Banking Conspiracy? It was Will Massasak and Eben Grace and Brian Shea, and we had Colin Mahoney as the first drummer, and we had Jake Coffin as the second. No, actually, I think Colin was the drummer for most of that. Jake was just at the very end. He came in a little bit later. Paul Kuhn, the Cellocaster guy, he came in. It was a big industrial space studio in Boulder for the most part. And we just had loads of time. I didn't have a family. I had a girlfriend, but you know, those things can, you know, she was there sometimes, she wasn't there sometimes. I could just live at the studio, and if I had a wild hair at 4 in the morning, we'd get up and record something. So it was really luxurious, you know, the way that you don't always get to record these days. It seems like these days everybody's, you know, studio time has become really expensive, or people are doing it at home in some small space, and so it's really a luxury that I feel like we were able to take advantage of and not be rushed. It was a great experience. I look upon that real fondly and would like to. I've actually been thinking about getting those guys together again. It's been quite a while. Our last tour was 2003.
Wow.
But everybody's alive and well, and I've kept up with them pretty well. I've played with Will quite a bit lately. I've played with Eben on various projects through the years, and I know everybody's still around there. So I was actually kind of getting excited about the idea of getting the IJBC rolling again in some capacity. Anyway, I'm not concerned what I'm going to play there tomorrow. Still here. Never meant that much to me. House in the car and the baby's 3, so I left a note and some money. Lit out for Tennessee. Thought that if they heard me play in Nashville or Memphis anyway, so my Monica and me headed out one day, rambling down that big old blue highway. Found out real soon that Tennessee enough harmonica players for the next century, so I drifted back to Arkansas, blowing in and out like there's no tomorrow. And on the way to Little Rock, my big break came in this honky tonk. Fort Smith it was, Merle Haggard heard me play, sent me rambling down that big old blue highway. Headed for the coast and the coast highway, Golden Gate Bridge, Sausalito, and the Nimitz double back made Texas in a day. Played that Austin city limits, hopped a plane to Amsterdam, and stayed in the coffee shop till dawn. The sun come up all pink and the sky looked gray. We was rambling down that big old blue highway. in the magazine. Started out cool, got to be a drag. Complained one night to Mr. Merle Haggard. And in the fading light by the decoupage, said if you want to be a garage band, stay in the garage. I've got no time for whining, he did say. Let me standing on that big old blue highway. Well, I played the opera in the Hollywood Bowl, blowed my harp in the Albert Hall. But when summer gave way in the fall, my face became invisible. When the train station was warm enough, I played that harmonica low and rough. Sometimes made $1 a day, slitting the edge of that big old blue highway. When it got cold, that got me a crazy feeling. Hopped a boat heading down to New Zealand. My harmonica rusted in the sun, but I want another in a game of 21. And I played the song of the ocean mist and the lover's eyes had never been kissed. The leftover bread in the galley was my pay, and the open sea my big old blue highway. Well, there's men with tall ships in the marina. Some are home in Catalina. They lie awake nights wondering if they locked it. I got my harmonica in my pocket. And if you find yourself howling at the moon and you ever need a lonesome tune, probably be in your town someday, rambling in off that big old blue highway. Never meant that much to me. House and the car and the baby's 3, so I left a note with some money. Lit out for Tennessee.
Does your personal life translate to your artistic life?
Does it translate? What do you mean? You mean am I writing about stuff in my personal life
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot. I'd say. I think I'm pretty much. I mean, I don't know what else to write about, other than myself, my experiences, and the things and people that I'm interested in and how they relate to me, you know, how I relate to them. Even if I'm writing about something that seems far away from me, you know, I'm in some way telling my own tale, I think.
Mhm.
I think that's how it works. I don't know that I'd be able to not write about myself and my experiences if you know, I mean, I think even when I was writing for Dewey Cox, you know, when I was writing the Walk Hard songs, even when I'm writing the cartoon songs, I think you could make a pretty good case that I'm filtering my own experience through those scripts or through those characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So where do you feel your artistic strength lies?
I suppose in, well, different things, you know. different things. I think that the show itself has become like an artistic endeavor, an artistic expression, relating with the audience and making them really part of the show, part of the band. They're part of the band. Working melodies and ideas together, and you know, in the last few years, being able to take a script and where it says, you know, song here, being able to imagine what that song would be.
Mm-hmm. So imagination has a big play of it also, with imagination for you.
Well, I suppose that's where it all comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to pluck something out of the air that wasn't sitting there before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of aspects to it, and I think with each passing year or each new sort of season, you know, you add something to your bag of tricks. That's how you keep it interesting.
What is the importance of a song to you?
What? What do you mean?
Like the importance of a song to translate to you as a person. What do you feel like songwriting importance?
I mean, it's kind of everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of the whole. You know, it's like saying. It's like asking a baseball player. You know, what does the field? How you know, what role does the field play? It's like that's you know, that's it. That's where everything starts and ends and begins, and you know,
right.
I mean, fortunately, song is a huge playing field. It's a huge field, and you can never explore all of it. There's always little twists and turns and new paths and drop down here, and you know, it's always interesting. It's always interesting. Mm-hmm. And I personally feel also that everybody has or can have access to it. One of the things I've started doing in the last few years is hosting songwriting workshops, and that's a whole thing too. And I've always had the theory, I guess, that everybody has song in them, and it's fun to be able to test it. And one of my favorite things is to work with people who've never written a song and who can't imagine that they ever could, and you know, find that, because it's pretty easy actually. It's kind of our birthright. That song, I would say song, some sort of painting or visual sense, drawing, like, you know, cave painting, and dance. Those three mm-hmm. things are really part of what makes us human. And I get really upset when I hear about when people have been told when they're very young, you know, you can't do this, you can't carry a tune, or you know, you can't draw, or you can't dance. You know, anybody who tells anybody that should be immediately imprisoned for 30 days, first offense. And then if it happens again, serious time.
We'll just have to go to the court of Dan Bern.
When I rule everything, things are going to change. It's not going to be so easy. People are getting away with a lot of stuff.
Yes, Sheriff.
Hey, that's what I'll do next. I'll be the sheriff of someplace.
Yeah.
I'll rule with an iron hand. I won't care what they're doing outside of the county, but in
my county. Be like Sheriff Joe, right? Arpaio.
Sheriff Joe.
The guy out
Whoever that is.
It was the guy in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Arpaio, yeah. Do you like to record live a lot or overdub?
Both. I love everything about recording. I love the process. I like, I like being able to go back and chip away, and I also like just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. I've made records both ways. Any day where you can record something is better than any day where you don't.
Mm-hmm. Do you often collaborate in songwriting?
Done it much more in the last 10 years than I ever had before. I started collaborating when I was working on the Walk Hard movie, when I got together with Mike Viola, who we had both been working separately on that same movie, and then we got together, and then we became a team. We were like this songwriting team. Mm-hmm. We were like a little Brill building, just the two of us, and we'd go meet with Judd Apatow and John Riley and Jake Kasdan and come away with 15 more song titles, and we'd write them all. Uh-huh. The next day we'd get some more, and we did that for months. And that's kind of how that was my introduction to a bunch of collaboration. And then, since then I've done quite a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And it's great, Everybody's doing it now. It's a new sport for songwriters.
Yeah. Do you like to write for film?
Oh, I love it. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things. I love being handed a script, and saying, and you're writing for a character or writing for a scene, or I think everybody likes assignments, in especially creative assignments. It's hard to constantly dredge things up out of yourself, It's great to be handed something and saying, write this for this.
How many films have you worked on, and have you done any acting?
The biggest films I've done were the Apatow films, Walk Hard and Get Him Into the Greek. Done a bunch of songs for independent films. One was called Drones. There's a documentary that Jonathan Demme produced called Wilderness Song. It was all about the Western legend guy, Everett Roos. I did a whole soundtrack of songs for that, 15 songs where I took Everett's words and turned them into songs. Wrote the theme song for Jonathan Demme's documentary about Jimmy Carter called Man from Plains. Mm-hmm. Something called Family Week horror film. There's a few others, some this or that TV stuff. Of course, the cartoon now. I'll remember some stuff when we get off the phone. I'm sure I'll remember some more stuff. I was in one. God, what is it called? It wasn't called. Anyway, they put me in one last year. I got to be an Italian movie director. I got to just sit at a desk and smoke cigarettes and talk. That was fun.
It was an independent
Everybody
film?
wants to be an actor.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be an actor.
It was an independent
film. So hopefully
film.
Yeah.
Was it just
Can't remember what it's called.
Was it there in Los Angeles or something?
No, it was actually in Calgary.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were playing an Italian in Calgary without a cowboy hat?
Correct. My hair was, we put some gel in my hair and smoothed it back, and I smoked cigarettes all day and just said things like don't know, like that. Wore a suit, very nice suit.
Oh, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you had a nice suit.
Yeah.
Did you write a song with Hunter S. Thompson?
I did.
Okay.
We had a good time.
Yeah.
We were in a car, and yeah, he was very keen to write a song with me, so that was great. And I'd like to tell you that I kept the song and I play it every night, but at some point I lost it, and it was a great memory.
Hunter S. Thompson. Yeah, this, and you wrote it in a car, you said?
In a car.
Uh-huh. You were around Las Vegas at the time, too?
It was in Aspen, Colorado, where
Yeah.
he was living and had a house. I had a standing invitation to go back and hang out with him for 3 days at his house, and I sad to say I didn't get there in time. He passed on, and
Oh, really? This is just
Yeah.
before he passed away, huh?
yeah,
Wow. But you
that
did
would
get,
have been something.
but you did get the right song, so.
Well, we got one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we would have got more. We got our whole record. That would have been quite a record. Dan and Hunter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
The Hunter and Dan sessions.
Yeah,
It would have been like Wildman Fisher. It would have been like that record.
I'm sure. So your song, My Little Swastika, that's
Yeah.
that's interesting. I mean, it's a top tempo kind of blues song.
Yeah. Well, it was, it was one of many sort of endeavors to reassign what do I want to say here? Well, so there, yeah. Just wanted to change what the thing meant. Take the power away from the what that symbol had become.
Yes.
It was an ancient
It is ancient
symbol.
symbol, yeah. For a
And,
sun or something.
Yeah, for life or something.
And then Hitler perverted
And
it.
and it took on this very dark meaning, and it reverberations, and everybody who sees it's bummed out. So I wanted to subvert that and change what it would mean for people. My mom didn't get it.
Yeah.
I have to say. But anyway, that was the notion.
Okay.
It's a jaunty tune.
Your latest album, Adderall Holiday. Why Adderall Holiday?
Well, if you've partaken, that particular substance kind of gets you going and gets you on edge and can keep you awake for a 10-hour drive, which is really useful sometimes if you're needing to do a 10-hour drive and you want to arrive alive.
So have you had
it also,
Adderall Holiday, Dan? Have you had a Adderall?
well, the Adderall Holiday is when you may have popped one for 2 or 3 days, and then you decide, go chill out today.
Oh, yeah.
Take a little Adderall Holiday. It could be a couple different ways. It could be a holiday with Adderall, which
Or without.
that's not really a holiday. A holiday is take a step back,
Uh-huh.
a little ice cream, just go for a walk, just kind of let things unfold.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Chill out.
it's kind of a dreamy little pop tune.
Mm-hmm. Do you read books?
On occasion, I have. All-time favorites are like, Ring Lardner, Damon Runyon, James Thurber. Love that stuff. All of Salinger, which apparently there's going to be more. They keep saying there's going to be more. My couple things I've read this summer were, I just read McEnroe's second book when I was on a train, which was great. And then I've been you probably read Chuck Klosterman. I read a couple of his books this summer, which is good for the old mind.
Mm-hmm.
Smart guy.
Mm-hmm. So,
and he had this notion of, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Well, he had this notion of like, he was trying to figure out who would be, like, likely to be, like a musician or a pop star who people might discover, 20, 30, 40 years from now. Somebody who'd have to be kind of obscure now. And I thought, oh, I kind of fit right into that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was encouraging.
So
go on.
I was just going to ask you, any advice for someone wanting to get into the business from Dan Bern?
I don't know anything about the business. Everything I've ever done to try to court the business has not worked. The only thing that's ever worked for me was to run the other way. And if they happen to find me, great. I'm not saying that's how it works for everybody, by any means, I can give advice on all kinds of things, like, how to write a bridge. I can give advice on,
Okay, give advice on the bridge. Give advice on how to write a bridge.
Well, you got to have the rest of the song first.
This is true.
And then you can put it before the chorus and go right into it. You can. My favorite way is the double bridge. So you have your verse, chorus, or maybe you skip the chorus there. Maybe verse, chorus, verse. Then you hit the bridge, and you have a solo. Then you do the bridge again, the double bridge. That's kind of a Beatle-ish thing. And that's great. And then you jump out of the bridge into your last verse. Maybe you want to come out of that bridge and go up a step, modulate. That's fun too. As far as writing the bridge, just go sideways. It's kind of a parenthesis. It's kind of a, like, oh, by the way, or here's another thought, or, that kind of thing. You do that musically and, lyrically. That's about it. Listen to New Amsterdam by Elvis Costello. That's pretty much all you need to know about writing a bridge. Or I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, the Beatles song. If you listen to those two songs, and you still don't know how to write a bridge, maybe I can't help you.
Right.
But I probably could. If you need to come directly to me and, but you gotta have the verse and the chorus, and then the bridge follows from that.
Right.
I've never heard of anybody writing a bridge first.
I don't think I have heard that either.
It could happen. I wrote 8 bridges today. I don't have the songs, but I wrote 8 bridges.
Yeah. Well, I could talk to you for a long time, but I think our time is running out. So,
all right.
Where can people find you on the internet, and how can they order your records and so forth?
Well, the first thing I would say, if you have any interest in the stuff we've been talking about, is go download the free app for Radio Free Bernstein. Then you can hear everything I've ever done, plus everything I've ever liked, all arranged in a pretty cool way. So check that out. My website's danbern.com. That's pretty easy. That'll tell you where I'm gonna be showing up. Maybe somewhere near you, maybe somewhere in the not too distant. Start with that.
Hopefully you'll be in Pittsburgh soon, or even in Cleveland or somewhere,
I'll probably be in Pittsburgh this fall, I think, sometime.
Well, if you're here and I'm here, I'd really like to meet you in person. So.
Well, that would be nice.
Yeah, very cool.
That would be very nice.
So, Dan, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you being on. And
well, thanks for asking me and having the thought, and anytime.
That's great, man. Thank you again, and just have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Right on. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Arts and Music. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email us at artsandmusicpgh@yahoo.com. And until next time, peace.
Live, take